Hello and welcome. Welcome to Quilt Conversations Live. I'm Geraldine Wilkins, the Living Water Quilter. I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you for joining me for another quilt conversation. Hello to Marcia. Hello, Lori in Hawaii. Hello to Donna, who's in Arizona. And who did I miss? Patricia. Hello. So glad you're here, ladies. How are you? What have you been up to? Let us know in the chat how your summer is going, what your summer projects are. Are you sewing? Let us know what you're working on. And if you have any questions, we are a community that helps one another. Today, we are going to talk about ruler quilting tips for beginners. And if you were here the last time, 2 weeks ago, the first Friday of July, we talked about machine setup. How to set up your machine for free motion quilting. We've talked about a month ago how to set up your machine for ruler quilting. The main thing is both require a machine setup for free motion quilting. You just have to change the foot from a free motion foot to a ruler foot, right? Now, what you want to do is make sure, I see I have some technical problems here. Let me just check here real quick. Let's see. Let me know in the chat if everything is still going okay on that end. Oh, there goes Rochelle. Okay. Hello, Rochelle. How are you? Patricia's here from Virginia. Awesome. Okay. It looks like only Facebook was having the problem. All right. Ladies, let me know if it looked like it restarted on Facebook. I monitor both platforms on a laptop that's just below my camera. All right. Oh, Marsha, that would be a good person to chat with. I will inquire. She's actually been on my mind. So Marsha asked Dina, could Rachel Clark come and speak about her wonderful quilted coats? I will ask and see if she agrees. Okay, all is well on YouTube. Fantastic. All right, wonderful. Thank you for that. Is all doing okay on Facebook? Let me see. It's kind of low down here. Let me make sure it's doing okay. Um, let's see. Hopefully it's going to load and it's fine. Oh, finally got sound. Okay, Facebook. It's working. Yes? Is that right, Patricia? You know, ladies, I always expect some kind of technical challenge as I go live. I am not only the live show host, I'm also tech support. I manage the production of Quilt Conversations Live. So I'm always checking if you see my eyes turn or look a certain way. Okay, great. YouTube is good. Facebook is good. All right. I'm watching on YouTube, says Patricia. Okay. Patricia says fine. There's two Patricias. All right. Wonderful. So let's get back to the topic. The topic is ruler quilting for beginners. And if you were here the last couple of times, we talked about machine setup. I'm not going to go over that. I'm going to talk about rulers for beginners. What acrylic ruler is a good ruler to start with as a beginner? Let us know in the chat if you know about ruler quilting, if you have any acrylic rulers, if you've started ruler quilting, and if you want some suggestions and tips as a beginner in ruler quilting. Even if you haven't started, but you want to start, maybe you've purchased some rulers and you don't know how to begin, we're going to talk about those rulers. All right, let me know. It's here for the technician. Marsha, you got that right. So, excuse me. Here we go. Now, I wonder if I need to talk about some updates, some just reminders. If you are new here and you're watching and you haven't joined the chat, that's where the conversation happens. Yes, the conversation is between me and you, but it's also the community of ladies on Facebook and on YouTube. So join the chat. All right, Patricia took the early class. All right, wonderful. That was in June. Oh, that was a great time, Patricia. We had a good time. Best ruler for quilting. All right, here we go, Marsha. I'm going to show you several rulers that are good to start with, and I'm going to talk about the difference between them. Let's look at my overhead camera. But did I want to share some news with you? Some reminders? Okay, yeah, the reminder was if you're watching, join the chat, join the community. Two, I always have a monthly sale. Always have a monthly sale on courses. So always check out what that is. Every month there's some sale or discount on a online course to help you move forward in your journey. And that for the month of July is all about threads and needles. So important for our ruler quilting and free motion quilting experience is to have a good grasp of what needles and what threads we will use to quilt our projects. All right, so make sure you take a look at that. Okay, so Patricia says, I'm not a beginner, but look for everything I can about rulers. That is a good place to be, Miss Brooks. And then Rochelle says, as with most things regarding quilting, I have dabbed a little bit into ruler quilting. I have several rulers, but only the straight one and the circle, which is what we're going to talk about, the straight ruler. That is the one to start with. That is a good beginning. Move that over a little bit. All right. So Donna says she started with the Westerly set, and I've used them but I truly love the straight line ruler. Yes, good. All right. So this is perfect because it's going to address and be helpful for a lot of the ladies that have a straight ruler and want to know how to effectively use them and use them a little bit better, more efficiently. All right. So let's go to the overhead camera. Here's the overhead camera. Here are some rulers of different sizes, different types. This one is a straight edge with a straight edge over here, a round edge on this side. This one has a channel on the inside where you put the ruler foot. Then we have this smaller one with a nice gentle curve, straight edge here. Then we have another channel-based ruler with a channel in the middle. And we have a longer, and this one is even a gentler curve. This one is not as deep as a curve as this one. And then there is this one with a nice long straight edge. Hello, Benita. So glad you're here. Let's talk about them one by one. I'm going to remove some so that we eliminate some of the confusion. Let's do that. All right. Hey, Cassie, you're never late. As long as you come, you're always on time. All right, we're just getting started. So here's a basic straight edge ruler. And for beginners, I always recommend getting a straight edge. Now, there are, as you can see, different types of straight edges. I always recommend that you have reference lines on the ruler, and you want reference lines that are generally, I prefer them to be etched in the ruler. That means they've been scored. It's not printed. It will not come off. So I like to have a nice straight edge. And this one is relatively long. This is a long straight edge compared to this length right here. Why would we want something longer versus shorter? When we are quilting, I would want both. Truthfully, I want both a long edge and a short edge. If we're quilting something where we have to turn the ruler frequently because we're doing echo quilting, a large ruler becomes cumbersome. It becomes challenging to move. When you have a smaller straight edge that's the size of your palm, you see I can cover it with my hand. That means I can quickly go around small spaces and quilt. It's more responsive to small spaces. A long edge helps us with nice long lines that we have to quilt. Every time we have to stop the foot because there's no more ruler, that gives an opportunity to have a small little difference in your stitching every time you stop. The sandwich can move, the ruler can move, and then all of a sudden your straight line has a little crookedness right where you stopped and had to restart. Or your stitching becomes inconsistent, your stitch length, if you don't have a stitch regulator when you have to start and stop. So every time you start and stop, you can have either a bigger stitch or a smaller stitch every time you start and stop because you have to shift the ruler. So that's why I like to have a longer ruler. The other benefit, hello Lorraine, so glad that you're here. Hello Latanya, so glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome. Is that when we have a nice long edge, we can have fewer starts and stops with a smaller ruler. If we're working on a home machine with a small harp space, meaning from the needle to the back of the machine, sometimes that longer ruler will hit the back of the machine, right? So a shorter ruler in that instance will work better. All right. So that's the difference between a long and short, and why I would want both for different purposes depending upon what type of machine I have and what I am quilting. All right, so here's another one. This is one of my favorites. I love a channel or inside straight line quilting. That means the ruler foot is right on the inside, and it's not likely that if you are stitching in the ditch that it will miss the ditch. Why? Because right here on the ruler there is a line. There's a line right here that signifies where you are stitching. That's your needle position. So you line this up with the ditch that you're stitching. Once you line it up, you know that you're going to stitch right in the ditch. You line that up with the ditch, you move it, and you're more accurate with this one than you are with these to stitch in the ditch. Now, you might be able to do it successfully with these, which you can. You just have to be more careful and pay a lot of attention to make sure the needle is in the right position. Speaking of needles in the right position, did you notice that there's a little edge here and an edge right here? Who can guess the distance between the edge of this ruler and this edge? From this edge to this edge and this edge to that edge. What do you think the distance is? And why is it important to have these little ledges? These ledges, what do they help us with? I call them a ledge because it's just over this main area where your foot will stitch. So the foot's going to start here. 1 foot. No, think of it, Marcia, in terms of inches. Patricia guessed it right. It's a quarter inch. It's a quarter-inch distance, which is when we have a ruler foot that's ½ inch in diameter and the needle is in the center of the ruler foot, it's always stitching a ½ inch away. So that means we can put the edge of the ruler, this edge, not this edge, but this edge right here, we can place it in the ditch or in the seam if we want to stitch in the ditch. We place this end and this end, and it's lining up that stitching line that's a ½ inch away from this edge of the ruler. So a ½ inch. So this one does not have that. This one does. Another thing to consider, does the acrylic ruler help you place the ruler exactly where you want it to be? And Lorraine meant to say a ½ inch. It is a ½ inch. So this helps you with the ½ inch and needle placement so that your stitches go right in the ditch where you want it. This one you would have to measure and make sure using what is called a spacing gauge to help you, but I wouldn't use this ruler for ditching. I would use this ruler or this ruler if I want to stitch in the ditch. That's why I have multiple rulers, because they serve different purposes. Okay, now the other benefit of this one, not only does it work well with ditching because of this line and the channel, it gives the ruler foot very little room to move. But did you also notice these angles? Look at these angles, horizontal and diagonal lines. Those will line up when your needle is in this position, right here. These will line up with your other seams in your quilt. It could be this will be the corner. If you think about it, this would be a corner right here. So if you have to turn a corner to quilt in the ditch, you can easily line up the ruler to do that. You don't have to measure. As long as your foot or your needle is right here at this horizontal line, that is the corner of this angle right here and this angle right here. This ruler doesn't have that. And this ruler has one angle right here. It's hard to see on camera, but there's an angle right here that's red, but it does not have all the angles that this one does. Let me know in the chat if this is helpful. What have I shared so far that you didn't know that now you do know, and why it's going to be helpful for you? What tip in learning how to read the rulers is helping? Is it going to help you? Are you thinking about the rulers that you have and how you can use them? Let us know if you went and picked up your rulers so that you can see how you can use your ruler better when you quilt your projects. Let us know in the chat. Okay, so here is another ruler. I'll take this one off. And it's very similar to this one right here. It has our reference lines that are a ½ inch distance, but this one is longer. This one is longer, and it has a gentle curve. So I like rulers. If you're only going to get one, I might get this one or this one, depending upon how I like to quilt. If I like to quilt a lot of long straight lines, I would probably get this one. But if I also want some curves, I'd probably get these two. It's hard to pick just one. But another reason why I like this one is because if I want to stitch long lines that are not in a curve, not in the ditch rather, I want this one right here for repeated quilting of straight lines that are either a ½ inch apart, a ½ inch apart, or a full inch apart. Notice how these are, on this one, we don't have 1/4 inch distances. We have 1/4 inch, and then this one is a 1/2 inch. These are all a 1/4 inch apart, which means I have more options for ruler placement with this ruler than I have with this one. So Rochelle says, thanks for explaining the channel ruler. I never wanted to use it because it felt trapped. But it makes sense for stitching in the ditch. So that's this one. And when it is in here, it's less likely for your foot to go where you don't want it to go. There is a little bit of wiggle room in this, Rochelle, but it's very slight, and you actually need that. You don't want it to be too tight, but also our piecing is not perfect, right? So you will have to make some adjustments as you stitch in the ditch. And this will allow you to make those minute adjustments without going completely off course. All right. So the reference lines is the difference, but even though this is long, the reference lines on this is different. Look at the number of reference lines on this one. We have reference lines going all the way across. We also have reference lines on this one that are in the middle. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to bring that up as far as I can. You see those? These are all a 1/4 inch apart. And that helps for when you have to turn a corner or have to place your foot a certain distance as you repeat echoes. Rochelle wants to know where we can get these rulers. So these two are from Westerly Design. You can get these on sewsteady.com. And I have a description below the video on YouTube where you can get the rulers. There's a link. You can also go to my website and look up quilting tools, and I have a whole library of tools based on all kinds of things, ruler quilting, piecing, everything. So you can go to my website there. This one is a Bernina from their ruler kit, their essential ruler kit. This one is 4 Paws Quilting. The number 4 pawsquilting.com. Is there a piece? I'm not sure what you're asking. Let's see. Lori says, do these rulers come with fabric grips, tape, or did you add them? Good question. I added these. The ones where you see this is added, and this is called stable tape. It's also by Sew Steady, and you can get that on the Sew Steady website. Some rulers already have a tackiness, like this one already has its own grip, so it doesn't need. Did you notice that this one does not have tape? That's because it's like Creative Grid rulers. This has its own grippiness, and it works really well. I just did a project which I'm going to share with you, so you have to check that. That's also important. If it doesn't have its own grip system on the back, you're going to have to get some stable tape. All right, where am I? I'm talking about, I'm talking about these lines. So these are fantastic when you're doing echo quilting within a quilt block. Every time you have to turn a corner, you know exactly where you have to stop and start. It's similar, somewhat similar to having these lines. Not exactly the same, but somewhat the same. It helps with ruler placement. So these are in the middle for a reason. It makes a difference. So as you're stitching, you're going to stitch down, and then when you have to stop, you bring the ruler down and you use these lines to help you. These are a 1/4 inch away. On this ruler, it only has 1/2 inch distances. Oh, that's a whole inch, not even a half, that's a whole. So on this larger one, our horizontal lines, these are the vertical, these are the horizontal. These are a full inch apart. We don't have 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch on this one, but they go all the way down the ruler. On this one, you have a combination. It starts here in the center, and then it goes 1 inch, 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch. So you want to think about that as well. Do you have both horizontal and vertical lines? How many and what distance are they apart? This one does not have horizontal reference lines. It has our diagonal lines and our needle position with this one horizontal line, but it doesn't go all the way across the ruler. Hopefully that is making sense about the difference between these rulers. All straight edge, but they do different things. Now, before I move on to the last straight ruler, do we have any additional questions about these? Westerly design. This is a Bernina ruler out of their Essential Ruler Kit. And then this is the 4 Paws Quilting channel ruler. I use this one a lot, and I use these two a lot. This one, I just got this one, so I haven't used it as much because I only just got it a couple of months ago. But these are the ones I use frequently. Okay, so Lori has a question. If these are for high shank, will they work for low shank machines? Good question. If you're new to ruler quilting, Lori is talking about the thickness of the ruler. When you have a home machine, we have different shanks, and that's the distance between the foot and the stitch plate. That's going to be a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch. So a low shank means the foot is closer to the stitch plate. A high shank, it's further away. That means we can use thicker rulers. And so for a low shank machine, most of these rulers are available, especially the Westerly design. Westerly design available at sewsteady.com. These come in 3 different sizes. So you can get low shank, high shank, and long arm quilting thickness. These here are high shank this thickness. This is not a 1/4 inch thick. This one is a 1/4 inch thick. I don't know if you'll be able to see this on camera. I'm going to try the best way I can. Let's see. Try this here. So this one is a 1/4 inch thick, and this one is slightly thinner. And they like to also use the millimeter measurement. So this would be 6 millimeters thick, and this would be 4.5 millimeters. Low shank is half the thickness of this, 3 millimeters for low shank. So that is another consideration. Not all acrylic rulers come in all thicknesses. If you are low shank, you have to find a company that makes rulers in that thickness. Yes, they do. And I'm going to show that one to you now. That's a little bit similar. So Donna asks, is there a Sew Steady one that is similar to this? And there may be one that I don't have, but the one that I do have that's similar to this is the Sash Lee. It's this one right here. It's very similar. It's shorter in distance, but it does have the channel. It has the marking at the top and bottom for the needle position. And then it has this piece here so that you can bring the ruler foot in and then close it off, put some tape on top, and quilt. When you finish stitching and you want a free motion quilt, you don't have to break the thread. You just pull this out and then you can remove it from your quilt without breaking the thread. So the difference with this one, so Donna, is this the one that you are talking about? And Lori says she has a Singer 9960. When you go to the Sew Steady website and you order from them, they ask you what sewing machine you have. They also have resources on their website to help you figure out the right template or ruler thickness you need for your machine. You just go under education and you look for the chart of information about that. That way you get the right ruler thickness for your machine. So this one has additional lines and compared to this one. Remember, this one has a 1/4 inch line from the edge, and then from here to here is 3/4, which would be a full inch that you would stitch. All right, wonderful. So glad that's helpful, Lori. This one has lines on it, and it tells you that this first line is 1/2 inch, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3 inches. Lori, it's music to your ears. Yes, Marcia. So do you notice the difference how short this is? And this one is very long. Again, depending upon what you're quilting and the machine you have, this one is good for small, tight spaces, right? If you have to constantly turn the ruler to go another direction, or you don't have a lot of room on your machine because the needle position to the back of the machine is very small. I've seen some people, I think Lorraine has done this, she's quilted on a featherweight. There's not a lot of room there. If you want to use a ruler, it'd be more comfortable to use this smaller one, right? So this longer one, still useful on a featherweight if you're quilting on that, but it'll be mostly in this vertical position. Yes, Lorraine makes a good point. Quilter's Rule does make rulers that are varying thicknesses that can work on both a home machine, domestic machine, and also on a long arm. All right, so let's take a look at some quilting and why a straight edge is good for. Oh, I guess I could have left that there. Let me leave these here. That way, just in case I need to show them to you, they are there and ready. All right. So these are some panels that I did recently. And Echo Quilting, straight line Echo Quilting is your friend as a beginner. It's really going to help you learn how to use the ruler and how to maneuver. You see how this one was perfect for going back and forth in this small space. Back and forth is easy to do in this small space. I'm quilting and then I turn it. It's very easy to do. Not that I can't do it with this one. It's just a little bit more in terms of movement. With this palm size one, I can go quickly and move this. So that is just an option, something to think about. So when you're echo quilting, you are using the piecing to help you with your quilting design. And my practice is that I start somewhere within the middle of the quilt block to help me design the quilting. So the first thing I did in this case was echo around these red triangles. I echoed, and then I did another echo. So I'm echoing the piecing, then I'm echoing the stitching, once I did that, I noticed that I could stitch from this point to this point to this point and so forth to put a square in the middle. That's how I started. Then you can use, again, the piecing to section off the quilting. That's what happened here. See these triangles? All of this quilting is based on the triangle. So right here, we have our first line of stitching right on the edge of the triangle and going right out. Then I just varied the distance between the echoes, and that could be whatever you want. 1/2 inch, a full inch, 3/4. If you choose a 3/4, you're going to have, if you choose 1/4, you're going to have a lot of quilting. It's going to be very tight. So choose accordingly. But it's also good to leave some space. And that's what happened here. What ended up happening is that we got a repeat of the pinwheel design with the quilting. So any questions? Thank you, Marsha. Glad that you like that. So easy to do. Now, what I might do after I stitch here, I might say, well, I don't want to use this small ruler. I'm going to bring out the longer ruler so that I can have continuous stitching for these longer lines, knowing that every time I have to stop and shift, it's potential for me to go off course. So that's where I take in the longer ruler. Yeah, so Rochelle says that I have to use the shorter rulers to counteract my need for speed. The longer rulers are faster. Yes. Yes, that is so true. That is so good to know about yourself and your own habits. And I think that's important. What works for me is not going to work for you. Excuse me. Let me drink some water here. All right. So you want to do a lot of straight line quilting with rulers. That is my recommendation so that you can learn to read the rulers, learn how to maneuver the rulers, how to quilt, get so comfortable that your machine set up, you know exactly how to set up your machine. You're able to do echoes of varying distances, perfect that. It's almost like perfecting the 1/4 inch seam allowance when you're stitching your quilt tops. Once you've done that, for those of you who have been here before, the regulars, you know that I always say not only test but practice. When you introduce another ruler into your collection, you don't want to abandon your other rulers. So you continue to practice your straight lines, then you introduce another ruler. So then you're combining rulers together. Oh, thank you, Marcia. That's very kind of you. Thank you. So I've changed the echoing, a new pattern, a 1/4 inch distance, 1/2 inch, 1/4, 1/2, 1/4, 1/2. That variation gives us interest. Then putting something on the diagonal makes a difference. That means you want to divide your space. So I divided the space, and right in the middle, I took a ruler that I love. It's a curvy ruler. It looks like this. You're not going to be able to see it there. Let me go do that to help you see. I use this side of the ruler to get this design right here. So I introduced with my straight lines, another long ruler, but one that gives me curves. And I only did a few rows of it. As I practice a new ruler or a new technique, I just add an accent of that ruler until I get more comfortable. The more comfortable I get with the ruler, the more I will incorporate it into a quilt. But you can always use it as an accent. All right? Any questions? How we can change the distance and the variation when we are using straight lines. So this was a V shape, sectioned off in 4 areas. So I had to go one way, then turn and go another way, come back up, go down, across into the ditch, come back up, back and forth. Okay. Then straight lines going just across. So Lori has a question. Which did you do first? Where did I start from? So what I normally do if I'm going to combine 2 things together, I want to figure out how can I divide it. This is divided into thirds. And how would that look on the quilt based on where the quilting, the piecing design is? And how will the design fall someplace within? So what I would probably, and I don't remember exactly with this one, but knowing my habits, is that I probably stitched one line here and one line here to give me my different areas that needed to be quilted. I divided it into sections. Hopefully that makes sense. Did you plan and draw the lines before starting, or did you just start out? Turn out fantastic. Well, I had a purpose in this project. I wanted to take the 3 panels. You know, I just like I say to you, I also do. I had a plan to quilt these panels with straight lines and circles, and these are rulers from the Bernina Essential Ruler Kit. I wanted to use one ruler or a combination of the rulers in that kit, and there are 4 rulers. So I wanted to do a straight lines. I wanted to do something where I combined the 2, and I did not practice ahead of time. I just said I want to do straight lines, and I wanted to use the serpentine or the curvy ruler together. And I don't know if I've paired these before in a previous quilt. I don't think so, but sometimes I will repeat something that was successful in another quilt. That's kind of in the back of my head, but I didn't take notes. I'm sorry, Lori. But this comes from practice. And I have to say, I have one more to do. I started it with the last ruler in the kit, and I did not like it. So I quilted about a third of it, and then I took it all out. So know that sometimes you can start something that you think is going to work, and it doesn't. That's why it's good to practice on these small pieces. All right, so here is another one. Remember, I am always going to incorporate something that I know and add something new when I'm quilting, whether it's free motion or ruler quilting. When we quilt something we know, straight lines, free motion quilting, we start our project with confidence. And then we add something that's a small element or something different to help us increase our skills and increase our confidence in a new area. Yes. All right. Oh, you're welcome, Laura. You're very welcome. Whoops, I dropped my pointer. So on this one, again, this is one of the rulers inside the essential kit. And remember, I have these panels. I want them all to look completely different, but using a ruler from that kit. It has 4 rulers. So this one was all about the circles. So we have circles around the pinwheels, circles around the triangles, and the ones around the triangles are off center. They're not exactly on the center of the triangle, they're off center. And here I have a circle in the middle. Then I tried to squeeze in another circle, but I didn't like it, so I took it out. So I removed that. And then the last touch was to add some straight lines on the diagonal. I think that little touch of straight lines makes a difference. So that is how I have taken one panel and quilted it 3 different ways using rulers. I wanted to show you the circles because that's the next ruler that I would add as a beginner to my collection. I would start off with a straight edge, and then I would go to curvy or circular, simple circles, or a simple curvy ruler. All right, let me go to the host view. I hope that was helpful, that it got you to thinking about what rulers you have, how you can use them, what for what purpose, whether it's stitching the ditch, and if you have a straight edge ruler, is it good for stitching the ditch? Is there a different ruler that you would prefer? Is it one that is smaller so that you can slow down, like Rochelle, who likes to quilt very fast, so that you can maneuver and really think about as you're quilting, so you don't have to take things out because you had a misstep in the quilting? You have to assess your own experience and preferences to find out which ruler, straight edge, is going to work for your style of quilting. What results do you want? We're not all stitching in the ditch. That might be stitching in the ditch to stabilize the quilt. Then you're going to add your free motion. Or you're stitching in the ditch and you're finished. You're not going to do any more. It all depends on what you want. Yes. She's very fast. So many of you know that I have some online classes, and some of you are taking them. And many of you may not know that I'm also teaching some ruler classes in person at the American Quilter Society Grand Rapids show in September. And I'm teaching several ruler classes. And one of the ruler classes is the Power Lines ruler class. It's all about straight edge and some gentle curves. And that's with this smaller 12-inch arc. This is the class that Patricia took in June. I don't know if Patricia is still here. Let us know. Patricia, I think you said that. I know it's like 3 different Patricias inside the chat today. I think it's Patricia who's watching from on YouTube. I think you're in the chat on YouTube. Is that right, Patricia? You took the class in June and we went over the 12-inch arc. This is my most popular class. And then another class is the circles. That's another beginner one. That's the next one, and it's called Going in Circles. In every class, there is a quilt panel that I like to share, but I teach you how to do all kinds of designs in this class. So if you know anyone in the Michigan, Grand Rapids area that you know wants some firsthand experience and help with ruler quilting, don't keep it a secret. Please let your friends know. And then there's the clamshell, which I love the clamshell ruler, which is half of a circle, right? Half of a circle, but just a little bit um well, I think it's just as creative. I was going to say a little bit more creative than the circle, but no, I think they're about the same. It's just the techniques are a little bit different. The techniques are a little bit different. And I want to show those rulers to you. I want to show you the clamshell, and I want to show you this one that I like. This is the Diamond Facets class, and this one is fantastic because it's a different kind of ruler with 4 different sizes, and you can get amazing, amazing designs with it. So my purpose always is, my purpose with ruler quilting classes is to try one ruler and help you get the most out of that one ruler, how you can use it. Just like we talked about straight edge rulers today, why you want a certain type of straight edge, how you're going to use it, why you use it, and the size, all of that. So I take one ruler. So for those classes, I wanted to show you 2 of the rulers. One is a clamshell and one is, it's called a triangular ruler, but I call the class Diamond Facets. Diamond Facets. And let's go to the overhead camera. So this is the clamshell ruler, right? So this is half a circle. And it has a very unique way of stitching. And so I show how to use the clamshell to make amazing designs. And because of the size of it, now you can get one that has not just 1, 2, but has another section to it. I think there's one that has 3 or 4 clamshells so that you don't have to continually move. But I like the option of having to start here, stitch, and then just reposition the ruler. It's small, it's handy. And this one has 2 sizes. This is a small clamshell and this is a 3-inch. So if I wanted to make a circle with this, I could. I could stitch from here to here and then turn this around and go the opposite way, and that would give me a 3-inch circle based on this particular one. This is the one that's really, really fun. I love this ruler. This is made by Quilter's Rule, and it comes in long arm thickness and for your home machine. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4 different sizes. Yes, Lorraine, I love the versatility of the clamshell as well. And the clamshell works so well on a home machine, which not everyone has a long arm. And so I like to be able to teach classes that work well for both machines, but especially for those, because before I got a long arm, I've only had one for a few years now. I don't remember how long, but most of my quilting career has been on a home machine. Most of the things that you see, I have done on a home machine. It's only of late that I've been doing it on a long arm. So, that being said, the width here is exactly the same, but this angle is different. And because the width is the same, these different angles can be put together to make different designs. So in the class, you not only learn how to use this ruler, but you learn how to combine these different shapes to make beautiful continuous designs. So I love this class. Love it, love it, love it. Now, perhaps you are thinking, well, maybe I don't want to start right there, and I'm not going to be in Michigan, and I want to start and improve my straight line quilting. And you want to have access to that because you have a busy life, you don't have a lot of time, but when you do have time, you want to have some help. And the course I have on my website is the Lydia Tote Ruler Quilting Class. The Lydia Tote Ruler Quilting Class, you're probably saying, like one lady said not too long ago, well, I don't want to make a tote bag. The point isn't about making a tote bag. The tote bag to me is a bonus. The purpose of the class is to help you stitch straight lines with ruler quilting and to do it in multiple ways. So in the course, you learn how to do it without marking. You use the seams in the pattern, which is a hexie-based pattern, and you use the lines on the ruler. In the course, you get the diagrams for the pattern, the stitching path, and video demo, a walkthrough on how to do it. And you can go back to it over and over and over again. And when you take this type of course, it's meant for you to strengthen your skills with straight line ruler quilting and how to use all those lines we talked about on the ruler. Yes, that's so true, Marcia. We can do this on a home machine. Exactly. Exactly. So if you haven't seen it, right here on the YouTube channel, Living Water Quilter YouTube channel, I have a full live session talking about the Lydia Tote Bag Ruler Quilting course. I talk about the supplies, I talk about everything about the course. So go take a look at that, glean some tips from it, see what the course is about, see if it's for you, put it on your bucket list. If you want to improve your skills with ruler quilting, this is my recommendation. Is to not only take a class in person, come to these live sessions, but also I know we all learn differently. Some need an in-person class. Some want a video that they can watch over and over again. Some like to watch a demo and then try it on their machine in the quiet of their own home space. Sometimes, even taking a class in person, you don't get enough attention if there's like 20 people in the class, right? So that's one of the things that I love to be able to give you options for learning. So I have in person, online, and we have our Quilt Conversations live, right? Where I can share some of the tips with you. But the main thing is that you and we have to do the work ourselves. You can watch me or anyone else, but you have to spend the time. And I like the option of having an online course that you can go back to over and over again and then have access to me through the course by sending me photos, asking me questions, etc., etc. Okay, I want to show you work of a student. Remember I said the course is not so much about making the tote. So this is one side of a tote bag. This could be a mini quilt, it could be a wall quilt, it could be a big quilt. And remember our echo quilting, this is basically what we're doing, echo quilting, learning how to use that straight edge. This could be a baby quilt. So if you don't want to make the tote bag, you can take this pattern and repeat it over a larger space. Just double it, triple it, multiply it as many times as you want. Then do the exact type of quilting, but just on a bigger space. The reason why I like to use a small project is because of time commitment. A lot of ladies don't have a lot of time, and I'm one of them. If someone says, hey, let's make a king size quilt, I'm like, I don't have time. I'm thinking, there's no way I can do it. I don't have enough time. So this is the end result. Beautiful tote bag. She practiced her ruler quilting, and either she kept it for herself, I don't remember. This is Leslie Lombardo, and she finished. She had an opportunity to use the ruler quilting by using the seams on the front, and then to use a whole cloth to practice whole cloth ruler quilting, which is included in the course. I show you how to take one piece of fabric with no seams and just mark a few lines and then quilt the whole thing just using a straight edge ruler. So So many options to improve your ruler quilting, to get started, and to help you reach your specific quilting goals. Ladies, this has been fun. Thank you for joining me. I hope I was able to help you. If you are new and you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload new content, when I go live, and don't forget to give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed our session today, and to like it or love it on Facebook. I'm not forgetting about my friends on Facebook. So glad. Hello, Marlene. So glad that you're here. Wonderful. Awesome. All right, ladies. The next time we meet will be the first Friday of August. I can't believe it's August already. That means teachers and students are returning back to school. College students are either on their way to the university campus. Oh, you're welcome, Cassie. You're welcome. This year, I can't believe we are already at the end of July. Woo! Boy, oh boy. All right, ladies, and whoever recommended, I think it was you, Cassie. I had planned to have an interview today, but that didn't pan out. I am working on having at least one interview per month. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. But the interviews, when they happen of other quilters, they always happen on the second time we meet in the month, which would be the third Friday. So the third Friday of the month is when I generally have the interviews right here in Quilt Conversations Live. And so if you can recommend someone, let me know. And if you watch the replay, thank you for being here. You can always leave a comment and I will respond. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you for another Quilt Conversations Live.